Hollywood legend Ridley Scott has come out and said what a lot of people have been thinking for a very long time. He says that Hollywood is so drowning in mediocrity. I agree. He's been forced to watch his old films. And to be completely honest, I mean, like if you got to go back and watch somebody's old back catalog, you could do a hell of a lot worse than Ridley Scott. I mean, we can go ahead and pull up his IMDb page. Well, I already did that because that's my job after all. And even if you just factor in the films that he was a director for, like, I mean, starting off with Aliens in 1979, you can do a hell of a lot worse than that, okay? And then you got Blade Runner. If you want a goofy, underrated action film, you got Black Rain, okay? Kurt Russell action film, like, come on, man. Thelma and Louise, G.I. Jane, one of my personal favorites, Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, Matchstick Men, which I remember liking upon watching it back when it first came out, in 2003. The wildly overrated Kingdom of Heaven, okay, American Gangster, that's another film that I think is way too overrated, but I digress. Body of Lies, I remember sort of liking that, I guess, but yeah, then he starts to taper off a little bit, but hey, The Martian, I heard was pretty good, but we don't need to talk about Prometheus or Alien Covenant or any shit like that, but and especially the stuff that he's been putting out in recent years like Napoleon and Gladiator. Maybe that's why he's talking about he's watching his old movies. Well, what qualifies as old? I would imagine probably everything up to and including American Gangster. Yeah, that's probably, you could do a hell of a lot worse than that, like I said. Like for as many, quibbles and qualms as I have with some of his more venerated works, there's very little bad that you can say about Alien, Blade Runner, and Gladiator. So yeah, if you're forced, oh my god, I'm forced to watch some of those movies over and over again. Oh no, it's practically like that scene in A Clockwork Orange, where I'm being forced to watch horrific shit on screen. Oh no. But anyways, what did he actually have to say about this? Ridley Scott, a filmmaker not known for pulling his punches, has issued a withering assessment of the health of Hollywood output right now. The Gladiator and Blade Runner's director argued that the industry is drowning in mediocrity, so much so that Scott revealed he has taken to rewatching his old films. Scott made the comments during an interview and reflecting on his career at BFI South Bank in London on Sunday. Metro and Yahoo are among those reporting on the Oscar-nominated director's remarks. The quality of movies that are made today, literally globally, millions, not thousands, millions, and most of it is shit, he said. Wow, okay, Scott added that films are too often saved by digital effects because they haven't got a great thing on paper first. All of these are statements that, honestly, I completely and totally agree with. And hell, even when going back earlier this year, I remember one video that I did that kind of hurt me, and this is why it's probably stuck with me for so long, but in discussing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, speaking of, well, actually mediocrity is probably something that is just way too much praise for that film, but even still, comparing and contrasting, and somebody did, it might have been a Collider article or something we had pulled up, but just how everybody was horrified with the look of the dwarves because it's like, instead of just using little people because goofy ass Peter Dinklage had to pull up the little stepladder behind everybody else in the industry, they just decided to go with those CGI abominations. But somebody who had to make not one, not two, but three movies with a primarily dwarven cast. You had Peter Jackson, in contrast with his Hobbit trilogy, just simply opined that if those films were, another 5 years along the way, they would have, instead of, had to fuss about practical effects, the ones that still look fantastic 25 years on in the Lord of the Rings movies, but he would have just CGI'd the entire lot of them. That's one of the many, many, many problems with the Hobbit trilogy. There's just way too much of a reliance on CGI. Some of it does look good, like the big establishing shots, especially during the Battle of the Five Armies, but that's about the nicest thing I can say about any of those battles that happen in that movie in particular. God damn it, that shit is so fucking dumb. But anyways, second half of his statement, Ridley Scott's statement here, they don't have a great thing on paper first. Yeah, because how many productions do we know right now are actively shooting? They don't have a completed script. I thought we heard a couple of weeks back that Avengers Doomsday, it's wrapped filming. They still don't have a completed script. Yeah. And speaking about films are going to be relying heavily on CGI artistry in order to make up for very obvious shortcomings. There you go. Asked if he has a go-to comfort food, the British director said, well, actually, right now I'm finding mediocrity. We're drowning in mediocrity. And so what I do, it's a horrible thing, but I've started watching my own movies, and actually they're pretty good, and also they don't age. Yeah, until a certain point, but all right. I watched Black Hawk Down the other night, and I thought, how the hell did I manage to do that? Oh, no. That's why Gladiator 2 sucks so bad. Oh, fuck. But I think occasionally a good one will happen, and it's like a relief. There's somebody out there who's doing a good movie, having wrapped the Dog Stars. Oof. Scott revealed a little more about his plans for Gladiator 3. Oh, fucking stop already. He's around, and he's technically in the Empire I'm sorry. He's around, and he technically is the emperor of Rome, and so I have a footprint about what I think it should be. Oh, fuck's sakes, man. Scott wasn't the only one to bemoan the quality of film output in recent days. In an appearance on Hot Ones, Channing Tatum said, "Oh, Avengers Doomsday is going to blow people's minds because we have so many keys to jangle." Oh, I'm sorry, a different quote. "Oh, when you get asked to do a movie, you're trying to get a movie made, and it's a confused pipeline of possibilities, and it really feels like at times that you're incentivized to make bad things to get paid rather than to make something really, really good." I wonder what he's talking about. But to just simply circle back around to Ridley Scott, I mean, you wanted to bemoan mediocrity and overall poor quality of film coming out of Hollywood in today's day and age. You want to cite very salient points, all things considered. And if you want to do something about reversing said course, because even though you're on the doorstep of 90 years old, which honestly, I really do hope he lives forever, I just also wish he would stop making films because he is in fact contributing to this awful glut of slop. Maybe he should practice what he preaches, because we talked about this back when Gladiator 2 was coming out, because his longtime cinematographer, somebody who was with him during the point in time where he was making all of those really good films that he's rediscovering, well, just outlined how lazy Ridley Scott has gotten. Gladiator 2 cinematographer accuses Ridley Scott of being a really lazy filmmaker. Gladiator 2 cinematographer has accused the movie's director Ridley Scott of becoming lazy and adopting a rush approach to filmmaking. Wow, he just wants to get some stuff done before he even has a good idea on paper. Weird. John Mathieson, who has been a longtime collaborator with Scott and has served as cinematographer on several of his films, including Robin Hood, Hannibal, Gladiator, and the sequel. However, in a recent interview with DocFlix documentary storytelling podcast, the veteran cinematographer shared his concerns about Scott's increasingly rushed filmmaking methods, describing him as less meticulous and more impatient on set. Mathieson has voiced strong disapproval of Ridley Scott's filming techniques on Gladiator 2, describing them as really lazy. Cinematographer pointed out that unlike his earlier projects, Scott now frequently opts to use multiple cameras during filming. This approach, Mathieson argues, negatively impacts cinematography since he can only light from one angle. According to Mathieson, Scott's preference for this method stems from his desire to work more quickly. He is quite impatient, so he likes to get as much done as he can at once, and it's not very good for cinematography, Mathieson tells the podcast. So yes, it really does harken back to his statements that Hollywood has a real penchant for wanting to get things done even if they don't have it decided on paper. Maybe this is why the first thing that comes to mind is something analogous to this, because it is something that even if he doesn't obviously know, he subconsciously realizes. And so, while he may be right to point it out, that Hollywood is in fact drowning in mediocrity, if you want to see change in the world, you best embody it. Practice what you preach, Ridley. Live long enough to redeem the Gladiator franchise and not contribute to the further tarnishing of your once great legacy. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.